Hello and welcome on this very special episode of Agenda. We come to you from Gurugram, better known as Gurugram. And we're here simply because on the 29th of May there was an episode that can only be termed as animalistic. I say animalistic because a young woman left her house after a fight with her husband with her 9-month-old baby. What happened after is a tale that should probably never be told and should never be seen, but it was in her case. What happened was horrific. She was gang raped by 3 men in an auto rickshaw. Her child was lost to her. It was a story that went on and on and on because it was a systemic failure, not just by the people of Gurugram, the administration, the police, but in general, our society too. And this is something that's not only happening in Gurugram, it's probably happening everywhere across the country. We have seen that in Tamil Nadu there has been a similar situation. But specifically about the ordeal of this woman, just imagine that in the middle of the night she walks out after a fight with her husband. She goes with her 9-month-old child. She gets onto a truck or a truck that offers her a ride. Out there what happens is that she's molested. She gets off that. She gets onto an auto rickshaw where again 3 men gang rape her after choking to death her 9-month-old child. Throwing that child out of the auto rickshaw. She's gang raped. She comes back to take that kid in the morning. That kid's body is still there. She as a mother cannot believe that her child is dead. She goes to a hospital in Gurugram where the hospital people tell her that she's dead. She doesn't believe it. She is a mother after all. She goes in a metro with the body of her child to Delhi to get another confirmation from the AIIMS hospital. This ordeal is just horrific. We have with us very special guests, and we are very grateful that at a sensitive time like this, the Commissioner of Gurugram is with us. He will be speaking to us. His entire team is with us. We have an audience also. We also have somebody who's been focusing on this issue for a long time, and I welcome him, Sudhir Yadav. While he may be an Aam Aadmi Party member of Haryana, he is also somebody who has filed more than 1,000 RTI applications in this situation regarding violence against women. But before we give you the latest of all that's happened and what the nuances are of this discussion, we first want to give you a sense of what really happened. Hear from the witness, from all those who were there, and particularly the woman whose ordeal this was. Let's listen to what she had to say through the report that my colleague Tanma Biswas has brought for us.
Arrested for gang raping a 23-year-old woman and murdering her 9-month-old baby. The crimes took place in the Delhi suburb of Gurugram around the midnight of 29th May. The arrest was made from UP's Bulandshahr on Wednesday. 2 of his accomplices are still on the run. The woman was kidnapped and raped by the 3 men after she took an auto rickshaw. She held on to her 9-month-old baby, which was taken from her, smothered and thrown off the auto, while the men took turns to rape her at a nearby field. The next morning, she took her baby to a hospital in Gurugram, hoping to revive her. When told that the baby had died, she took a metro to Delhi, holding on to her dead child to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
आप मेट्रो में भी हैं बच्चे को लेकर?
हाँ, बच्चे को मैंने इस तरीके से गोदी में ले रखा था, सुबह रखा था इस तरीके से चुप्ती में. मैं डर गई थी सर अपने हस्बैंड से कि कभी मुझे छोड़ दे, मेरी सांस छोड़ दे. फिर उसके बाद मैंने बताई थी तो मैम ने मेरा मेडिकल करवा दिया.
बच्चे को फेंका था उन्होंने?
हाँ, फेंका था सर, चोट आ रही थी उसके मुंह पे.
A woman cop has been suspended for delay in registering rape charges by a day.
Maybe 1.5-2 days later, she did, after she gained the confidence of her husband, she came forth and she said that she had also been raped. 1.5 दिन का जो delay हुआ before these facts came to light, उसके लिए there is some liability, and we have lady sub inspector को हमने suspend किया, उसके खिलाफ department action कर रहे हैं.
Last month, the Supreme Court confirmed death sentence of 4 convicts in the Delhi gang rape case of 2012. But despite a tougher law, the number of rape cases in the country continue to be high. National Crime Records Bureau data shows that there were over 34,000 cases of rape in 2015 and over 2,000 cases of gang rape the same year. In Delhi alone, 647 cases of gang rape have been reported till April this year, and Gurugram saw 3 cases of assault and gang rape last month. This shocking case not just exposes the desperate condition of women's safety, but also how police's response to cases of sexual assault is still lacking. With camera person Sushil Rathi in Gurugram, Tanma Biswas for NDTV.
So that really gives you a sense of what's happened in this ordeal. We also have with us, and we are privileged to have Mihira Sood, a human rights activist and lawyer, We also have my colleague Smita, who will be speaking about what's happened in Tamil Nadu. Some have called it Nirbhaya Part 2. We'll go to her in just a bit. But first, I just want to take our viewers and give them a sense of what's been happening in Haryana of late. And this is not a Haryana problem. This is a pan-India problem. We'll talk about that. But first, on the 15th of May in 2017, a 22-year-old Sikkim woman was gang raped in a moving car. This happened in Gurugram, and she was later thrown out of that car. On the 14th of May, in the same year, of course, this is just now, a 20-year-old woman was gang raped and killed in Haryana's Rohtak, allegedly by her jilted lover and friend. And listen to this ordeal. The men later smashed her face with a brick and killed her. An autopsy conducted on her body showed that her food pipe was missing and that several sharp objects had been inserted into her private parts. Her body was recovered in a mutilated state after dogs had bitten off the lower region of the body. A 10-year-old girl on the 13th of May, this is 3 days in a row almost, was found pregnant after being repeatedly raped by her stepfather in Haryana. So this is not just Gurugram, this is Haryana in general. And if you talk about India, we're trying to portray out here that this is not a Haryana problem, this is an India problem. There were 3 rapes that I want to talk about. One, of course, that happened in Ludhiana. A girl, a 16-year-old daughter, she was drugged and her 2 other friends could take turns and rape her. On the 10th of May, a 5-year-old girl, deaf, dumb girl, was raped by a 24-year-old man in Varanasi. And what has happened just 2 days ago, Nirbhaya Part 2 is what people have called it. A 14-year-old girl gang raped by 2 bus drivers and a conductor in Salem, about 300 kilometers from Tamil Nadu's capital, Chennai. Smita is with us. And Smita, I just want you to give us the details of this case. What has really happened? And I understand that there is a sense around people that there should be a lot of proactive behavior from civilians in general. So in that context, if you could tell us what happened in this case.
Yes, in fact, right, as you pointed out, the entire line of events brings back flashbacks of the Nirbhaya incident. What investigators have told us is this: 14-year-old student ran away from her home on Monday, got onto a random bus, travelled in it without getting off at any stop, and finally when the bus did decide to stop, the crew members, which is 2 drivers and a bus conductor, did not allow her to leave the bus, get off the bus. They threatened her, took her to a remote location and raped her in turns. And by the end of the 3rd assault, she managed to escape, ran through the streets. What we hear an account from locals there also is that the locals actually caught hold of the culprits, took them to the police station in the middle of the night, took the girl to the hospital, and now she's at a children's home getting treatment, and the 3 accused have been put under remand and they will be produced in court, and further action will be taken. They've been filed under the protection of children against sexual offences, also after invoking provisions under kidnap and rape. But it was there the people who actually at least got up at that moment and helped the girl and helped the police snap the culprits. But the investigation is still underway. A lot is still under question. Back to you in the studio.
Well, thanks so much for that, Smita. Not in the studio. We're actually, interestingly, in Gurugram. We're at the Commissioner's office. And let's just start this discussion now by talking to the Commissioner himself. Sir, I mean, you know, we find that normally we're always blaming the police. And while in this situation, there does seem to be something that the police should have done better, that it didn't do. It is also a civilian problem, and we all are responsible for it, me included, I would say. So in that context, how do you take responsibility leading from the front so that we civilians can also do the same?
Look, Amitoj, as far as this incident is concerned, we've set up an SIT and we've been able to crack the case. 1 person we've already detained and arrested. And within the next few hours, we should be able to detain the other remaining accused persons.
You think that you have leads enough to do so?
We have enough leads. Now, issue is that this is a case which shakes our conscience, and we've taken it with adequate seriousness. We set up an SIT and we've worked overtime. And
give me a sense of that. Overtime, when you say.
Look, this is a big case because we didn't have any clues to begin with. We set about examining all Theka's liquor vents where we could go to the CCTVs, a large number of vehicles of that description, all vehicle stands. We went to them to verify these facts about the suspects. We referred to criminal records, earlier criminal records, went to various CCTVs at various maybe toll plazas and things like that. And numerous stuff, call data records. Similarly,
I understand that you did a lot of things, but what happens is that what's difficult to understand is that the baby was there, thrown off an auto. There should have been patrolling that spotted a scenario like that. Or if there is not, if that's not possible, why is it not possible? Who's at fault? Somebody has got to be accountable.
Look, there was accountability which has been fixed, and that's for a delay because initially the case was reported as a case of murder.
Yeah.
And that is because the lady came forth with that statement only.
But she wasn't probed enough.
Look, that is, I'll tell you the facts, that for the first 2 days, because of whatever reasons, patriarchal mindset and whatnot, she didn't confide in her husband. She didn't want to confide to the police because it might affect her marriage.
Okay.
But then when she was able to do the last rites for her child, and then she gained some confidence of her husband, then when she was able to come forth with the fact that she was also sexually assaulted. And initially the matter was reported to a sub-inspector of police where I think the response was not up to the mark.
Okay.
And that individual officer has been held responsible for that and placed under suspension. But what I would like to highlight is that there is a systemic robustness. So despite lapse at a certain level, the ACP, because that's a part of the system, the ACPs went in and reinvestigated, examined the girl again, and the facts came forth, and that's when we immediately invoked the sections of rape and got the girl medically examined and had her statement recorded under 164 CRPC.
Okay. So Dheer, with us, you've filed a lot of RTIs regarding violence against women. How do you read this situation? Is this any different from what happens? आप हिंदी में बोलिए, इंग्लिश में बोलिए, जो आपको बोलना है.
देखिए, मैं आपको बताऊं कि जिस तरह की घटनाएं हरियाणा में बढ़ी हैं टोटल ओवरऑल, वो आप गुड़गांव से कनेक्ट ना करके अगर इसको नेशनल वाइड और हरियाणा वाइज देखें तो कुल जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स हर साल एक रिपोर्ट निकालता है क्राइम्स के ऊपर, नेशनल क्राइम रिकॉर्ड ब्यूरो, उसके हिसाब से अगर हम 2012 और 2015 के बीच में कंपेयर करें तो लिखित शिकायतों में 168% का इजाफा हुआ था पुलिस के पास जो रिपोर्ट दर्ज होती हैं, जो शिकायतें होती हैं, और जो दर्ज की गई शिकायतें हैं उनमें सिर्फ 38% इजाफा हुआ है. सो पब्लिक शिकायत कर रही है चीजों के बारे में, लेकिन आपका रिपोर्टें 38% दर्ज हो जी. पहला,
let him respond to that first.
Firstly, as far as rape is concerned, the definition of rape has been radically changed.
Okay.
So what was considered a relatively minor offense earlier, after the infamous incident of Delhi 2012, December 2012, the definition of rape has been widely expanded. So that could be a contributory factor to the increase in numbers. In fact,
sorry, I want to make sure that we're not getting into the law out here, even though we have Mehra Sood with us. Mehra, can you bring us back to the point that this is a pan-India problem, and this is something that we, get into details and we get lost looking for that devil in the details. It's not about that. It's basically about the fact that we as the people of India, the conscience is just lacking. We don't have a conscience where we think that we should protect women, and this is just, if something like this happens, we should all be probably out on the streets. And I'm not advocating for that, but that's the feeling that I'm getting.
Yeah, Amitoj, I think you're right that this is a more, of course, at one level, at a very basic level, it's a legal problem and it's a problem of law and order, and we certainly cannot lose sight of that. But I think in that focus on law enforcement and in the focus on police lapses and things like that, we tend to fixate on those issues and ignore the fact that the problem is a social problem of a society we are part of, and in that sense, it's on all of us to introspect whether it is as civilians, are we doing enough? As members of civil society, are we doing enough? Do we look around and see what's happening? Do we speak up when it's time to speak up? And particularly when it comes to gang rape as a specific offense, there is an issue of masculinity culture that really needs to be addressed, and this is, this is not some academic high-flying jargon that I'm trying to use here, though it may sound like that. But, enough studies have been done, and we need to wake up to the fact that, when men in groups tend to behave very differently from individuals, and that sort of culture that comes with group behavior ties in very closely with how we build up masculinity in our society and what we allow boys to get away with and what we expect of boys, and that's something we really need to focus on.